What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 2 of Skins in the Game, where this week we have the names right. John and Tim will start talking about some skins, some maybe a little NFC East stuff, and we start with the NFL schedule. Came out last Thursday, and I made a video talking about the strength of schedules. Did you get to catch that one?
I did.
So,
I watched about 90% of it, so I got your gist of it though.
fair enough. You don't
I
watch my whole videos. I get it. No, no,
I don't have that much time in a day. Sorry.
no, you're good. So, did you agree with Atlanta having the toughest schedule, or did you think somebody else had it?
No, I could see your logic behind that. I obviously it's subjective. I mean, you used concrete criteria on how you had a set of five different criteria of
Mm-hmm.
how you were gauging it. So holding against that, which I can't argue with that logic to the extent of any of these things are logical,
Mm-hmm.
but um, I'm not arguing with that. I was reading something today, and again, different opinion where New England, because they have to face Kansas City and Baltimore, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
that they're saying, and I know that's not the only two, but they put a heavy weight on these two games, and I'm thinking, okay, that's 2 out of 16. So, and again, I mean, I understand they were going through some of the other ones
Mm-hmm.
that are
Yeah, Buffalo twice
difficult.
is tough. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they have a couple of tough games, and I think
but
they still
see,
also
I
have to
wanted
play. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think they also have to play it's the Saints division over here.
Yeah,
So that's obviously I think it's the Saints division. It's either the Saints, but they have I have it over here. Which divisions do they play? They play the
I had that up on one of my
NFC.
screens.
Oh no, the NFC West. So they have the San Francisco division. That's what it was. They have San Francisco, Seattle, Rams, and
Okay,
Arizona. So that's
that's what it is.
also really tough. The San Francisco obviously really tough. Seattle's always a good game. So yeah, they have a tough schedule, and they went off the. A lot of other websites went off the records from last year, and they were number
Yeah,
one in that category. But I went off obviously the records of last year plus what they have this year. And if as far as the projection goes, as far as the projections go, Atlanta are top both of those categories as far as the Vegas
right.
predictions and um, the power rankings. And I think Atlanta is going to have 7 out of 16 games by the end of the season that they're playing against top 6 in the power rankings opponents. Because I think Tampa Bay is going to be super good. They have them twice. Obviously, Saints are always good. They have them twice. Like it's going to be really, really, really tough over there.
Well, and this is my thinking of this year in particular. It's going to be interesting because um, there's a lot of unknowns through the summer, and whether or not they're, and I know we've talked about this before, where whether or not they're going to have a full training camp. When are they going to be allowed to communicate with each other? Because my understanding is right now is they're not allowed to, like, none of the players can talk to any of their coaches. Now, who knows what they're doing? But I think this year is going to weigh heavily on established teams because, or better, I shouldn't say weigh heavily, but give the edge to established teams because there's five. I was looking at there's 5 new head coaches, which I think are going to be at a distinct disadvantage. There's 7 coaches that are second year, which obviously are more established, but I think that with the possibility of a contracted training camp and OTAs and all of this stuff, that the teams that are not that well established are going to be at a distinct disadvantage. So that's why I think one of the things is difficult, or one of the reasons why I don't put a lot of stock in the record last year. Obviously, you have to look at that, but I think they're going to suffer because of the fact that they don't have a chance to really instill, especially the first year coaches, but
Mm-hmm.
instill their
So
way of
actually,
doing
that's an
things.
argument to weigh heavier on last year's schedule. You're saying because those teams that were good last year are already established teams, so that they should be
Yeah,
able to come out the gate stronger. So it's actually an argument to say that this records from last year should weigh heavier than what on the Vegas projections. Because you're saying basically on that is that you're especially out the gate, Tampa Bay is going to have a rough start. So that could, I know that at least one of the games against Atlanta, my toughest schedule, they play Tampa Bay late, but I don't remember when they play them first. So at least one of those games will be after Tom Brady has had enough time. I think it's like week 15 they play. He'll have enough time to have gotten in a groove for them.
Well, I was going to say, and if a lot of people would say if anybody can get around the rules, it would be Tom
Brady. Yeah. I'm sure he has the whole team in his backyard right now.
I know.
They're running plays.
They got a bunker somewhere where they're going through the whole playbook.
Yeah.
But
did you love the fact?
I was going to say something.
Oh, go ahead. You got something?
No. John might go ahead because I was going to say something, but
I was just going to switch it up a little bit. How do you like that the Ravens have the easiest schedule?
Oh yeah, that's kind of. I don't know if you've heard this, but I heard in not too distant past. I don't know if it's still the case that there's a man and a woman at their kitchen table that makes the NFL schedule. And
I did hear that.
They sit down with they geography and all this stuff, and they make the plan out. And I think you have this multi-billion-dollar organization. And they're springing probably a couple $100. It's probably more than that, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to pay you $1,000 to put together the schedule.
Yeah.
I thought, really? You don't have? But I know what I was going to say. That Dallas. I think. Every year they talk about Dallas looks great on paper, and they got a great offensive line, and they do. But ultimately, the predictions that Dallas is going to do well this year with a new coach and an established coach, but a new coach nonetheless that's going to have his own way of doing things. And it's going to take, to me, it would be logical to think it's going to take a while for everybody to get on the same page. And especially with, again, the unknown of how much time he's going to have to make that happen. I don't see them as being a given on, having a good season. Maybe they end up doing it, but it doesn't seem like a lock to me.
They have a lot of talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see how it pans out. But I think Jason Garrett was a huge roadblock for them, and getting rid of him is a step up, whether it's a coach with no offseason or not. Like Jason Garrett, I just did not like at all as a head coach. So I think they improved.
Do you think it was him that lost a lot of their games for him?
Well, at least the players didn't want to play for him anymore by the end of it.
Okay, I gotcha.
Everybody was sick of Jason Garrett and just how he was Jerry Jones' pet, and he could basically do no wrong in Jerry Jones' eyes, even though he
why was Jerry Jones so connected to him?
Because
seemed like
he was his minion that he could control. Like Jerry Jones wants control. So he had Jason Garrett that was a yes man, and that kept his job for 10 years or however long he had it.
So you're saying that none of the other coaches, like I want to say, was it Wade Phillips? Is that the gray-haired guy?
Yeah,
I can't think of.
There was Wade Phillips, and there was also.
You don't think he was a toady?
Not nearly as much as Jason Garrett, and Wade Phillips wasn't there for nearly as long. He was only there for one stint, I think, 3-4 years.
Maybe I guess that's true.
Like Jason Garrett was there for 10 years and did nothing.
I know, wasted Jerry Jones's money for 10 years, and yet he was still loyal to.
They had some good regular seasons, so I wouldn't say they did nothing, but a lot of people would say they had enough talent to go further than first round, and it was
their problem was December. They would always do good in the first half to 3/4 of the season, and then December they just fell off. I mean, if you look back, it's like the opposite of what some teams do, which I've read that Ron Rivera is a good end-of-season coach, that it seemed to me that Dallas was good out of the gate, and then by the time you got to December, they started losing games, and a lot of times didn't even make it to the playoffs, much less through the first round.
Yeah, especially last year. Last year was a really bad late season. Basically, every NFC East team, like the Redskins, still had a chance mathematically at week 14, and we were 3 and what would that make us? 3-9 or something. Like we mathematically were not out of it at 3-9 or something stupid like that.
Well, that's the thing. When the Eagles finish at 9-7, then It's
Yeah,
not. I think
three
they
and
won.
eight.
Did they win the last two games? I'm
They
trying to
had
remember
such
when.
an
At what?
easy schedule. They lost to Miami in I think week 14, which opened the door for Dallas to be in the driver's seat, but Dallas did not take advantage. Because I think if Dallas won out after week 14, so 15 through 17, they would have taken the playoff spot. But they lost to
Right.
the Eagles, and they lost. Who did they lose to? I know they played us at one point, and I think they also played. They beat us, so I think it was the other game. Whatever the third game was, they also lost that. So they lost two out of the last three
Wait,
games.
no, they didn't beat us last year. We beat them. They brought Ryan Fitzpatrick in, but he almost
No,
came
no, not
back.
the
But we.
Dolphins. I was talking about the Cowboys.
Okay. I'm sorry. You mentioned the Dolphins. I'm sorry. I went the
Yeah,
wrong
no, I
direction.
was saying that the Dolphins had beat the Eagles in Week 14 because I think it was like the Eagles had like the Dolphins, the Bengals, and somebody else that was not very good, or maybe us. I don't know. There was three games for the Eagles that on paper they should have crushed, and then the Dolphins came out and beat them,
Right.
opening the door for the
Well, and
Cowboys.
that's one of the switch gears slightly on that. But last year, the big talk was that the Dolphins were throwing the season to get the number one pick. And I'm thinking, if they were throwing the season, why in the world would they bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because they could have lost all 16 games with the other quarterback.
No, 100%.
And
No, they ended up winning 5 games after like an 0-6, 0-7 start. Like the end of the season, they actually I think they finished maybe 500 out of the last 10 games. I think because
right,
they ended
but
up winning
weren't they
5 games.
Aren't they the tanking for Tua team last year? They kept saying Miami wants Tua, so they're going to tank, and then
Oh,
it's like, wait
100%.
a minute, they
I
didn't.
was saying they probably
Yeah,
wouldn't win a game this year, but as you said, the coach I can't remember their coach's name, but I don't think he had a loser's mindset that he wanted to tank. So he decided, I don't care. And then they ended up getting Tua anyway. So,
right.
I guess it's a win-win for them.
Yeah, that
So,
should be an interesting thing.
all
But
right, we'll go ahead and switch to our next. We'll talk about the Redskins schedule this year coming up. And I know the audience doesn't know, but we have a bet going that you say the Redskins will make the playoffs next year. I said I didn't want to take your
Homer,
money, but you talked me into it. So you twisted my arm. I said, okay, fine, I'll take your money.
hey, I like having skin in the game, and I like to be hopeful. So that's what.
I like
If
having
I didn't think they
win-wins.
would play well,
I'll gladly pay $10 or whatever it was to have the Redskins make the playoffs. So it's a win-win for me.
so you
Either I
get the
get ten
best of
bucks.
both worlds.
Yeah, you get all of it or none of it.
Right.
Yep. But all right, let's go ahead and run through the schedule. I want to see how you have us making the playoffs with this tough schedule. I actually had us only as the 18th hardest schedule in the season, so we're like more middle of the pack. But for us, that's going to be a tough season considering most power rankings have us at best 28. I think Walter Football had us, but NFL, ESPN, and what was the other one that I used? CBS all had us. I think 31 and 32 in the power
Yeah,
rankings.
and I understand that. And I mean, when I look at the week by week, it's difficult. I know one of the things I wanted to say is that this, I believe that we now have a defensive-minded coaching staff that has a great defense to work with. So my hope and the basis for my optimism is I hope in the first two or three games that defense comes together and gets scary, and that the offense can kind of work their way into a rhythm, and then by mid-season you have a great defense with an offense that's starting to roll. So, and I know it's a different coaching staff, but I look at last year that, okay, the first game of the year, Eagles, first half of the game, they outplayed the Eagles, and of course, in Jay Gruden fashion, in the second half, they basically fall asleep. I think it was a conditioning thing. But you look at the Minnesota game before Case Keenum got hurt, they were in that game, and then he got hurt, and it kind of all went south. I want to say, and maybe I'm mistaken, I thought the other one was the Packers, that the Packers ended up icing it. They were ahead, but it was never like a blowout. Okay,
They
the
won 20 to
Redskins are,
15. Yeah,
yeah,
it was 17-9. We had the ball with the chance to tie in the fourth
yeah,
quarter. And then we did not score, and they ended up getting a field goal to make it 11 points. And then we got a garbage touchdown
Right.
with like a
So if
minute
you look
left.
at it from that perspective, I think that the Redskins, even before Chase Young and the tall receiver that is escaping my name right now, they just drafted Gandy
Antonio,
Golden.
yep, AGG.
Yeah. That I think the Redskins have a lot of talent, and I think that, and I'm not saying that I'm comparing it to Dallas's talent, but your comment earlier about Dallas has quite a bit of talent, but their problem was Jason Garrett, and I feel similar in the Redskins that I think they have a lot of talent, and their problems were Gruden and Minuski. So it was, and we've had conversations where I know I didn't react as harshly as you did, but you were literally like blowing a top at why Minuski wouldn't blitz on a 3rd and 21, and he'd let him score 22. So
Not only did he not blitz, but he put Sean Dion Hamilton, a linebacker, on Deshaun Jackson while rushing 3 people.
Yeah.
Sean Dion Hamilton can't run with Deshaun Jackson.
Why is that a problem? I mean, that sounds like a brilliant defensive
50-yard touchdown play. What do you know? I'm going to let Carson Wentz just stand there and look downfield, and now I'm going to throw a touchdown pass because you have a linebacker who probably at best runs a 4.6 on a good day, running with one of the fastest players in the NFL.
Come on, Tim. Jackson only had 25 steps on him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everybody's looking at Josh Norman like, why wouldn't you cover him? It's like, well, they called the cover 2 Tampa, where the middle linebacker just runs straight up the field, and sure enough, Deshaun Jackson runs right with him. It's like, great call, Minuski. Great call on 3rd and 10.
Yeah.
But then he would always blitz on 3rd and 3, and it would be an easy slant pass or an out pattern that would make it an easy, quick pattern that the blitz couldn't have time to get there. It had no chance.
Or even the screen where the guy lets the defender go by him and they think, I got the quarterback, and they toss it right over their head. So, yeah I know.
It was so bad.
Anyway, that's my basis of having optimism is I was reading an article that, saying that Dwayne Haskins locking for us that Dwayne Haskins has no chance because he has no talent around him. And I don't buy that. And if I could just add one other thing, that I was reading an article too today about how maybe the Redskins offensive line wasn't as bad as everybody says it was, because last year with Trent Williams out, it was going to be a dumpster fire. And they ended up finishing, and I don't know all the stats of how they measure this, but the Redskins offensive line finished in the top half of the league. They were like 13th. So if they can...
I watched a lot of the games last year, but I did see some like key moments where Eric Flowers would miss a block, or Duron Christian or Donald Penn, whoever was in there, would miss a block where it would be like a 3rd down where you need a little time, that it was not working out nearly as much. But with Adrian Peterson running as hard as he was, he made that offensive line look a lot better, I'm sure, on statistical numbers, because he had some games where he was averaging buku yards per carry, and it was like all him. Especially that Buffalo game.
He's a beast.
Good God. Number 39, I don't remember his name. I think his last name was Williams for Buffalo. He comes off the edge and has a clean shot at AP. Like, I got him. He has nowhere to go. AP just makes a little boy out of this dude and literally just takes him and throws him down on his back. It was so bad. And then he ends up like on the 8-yard run after he gets hit in the backfield. Like 4 yards
not
deep.
Today, son.
Oh, God. That poor corner. It was so bad for him. He was averaging like 11 yards per carry in that first half of the Buffalo game. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, be careful what you ask for. Hey, I got a shot at Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, and he did not go low. Everybody would probably tell you, all right, take out his legs. No, he tried to go mano a mano. It wasn't happening for good old Williams over in Buffalo. So,
right.
All right,
I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Before we start, I wanted to clarify our bet. I believe we clarified to say 7-7 is a push.
Yes. No, wait, hold on.
6.
I thought the bet we had was a playoff, or not?
Okay. I think we clarified, but you know what? I'll fine. I'll stand by that. I think it. You know what? I'm sorry. I think there's another person that I have the over under at 7. So
okay.
I thought we clarified it that way, but I think it was.
I think your bet to me was a playoff run.
Yeah. So before we start going through this win-loss, let's determine how many wins do you think the Redskins need to make the playoffs? 9, 10?
to make the playoffs.
I just need to know what I'm shooting for.
You know what? I will let you slide with 9 wins if it's off, but I would probably think they're going to need 10 to pull off this division. But as you said, maybe with Mike McCarthy being a first-year head coach, Dallas starts slow, which then gives Dallas a chance to win. I think Dallas is going to win this division to keep the streak alive of not having back-to-back division winners since 2003, 2004. So
Right.
Dallas will take this division. But all right, I'll say that. Show me how we get 9 wins. Because I don't have us getting that many.
I was going to say it's going to take some creativity, but I'll do what I. So, all right. So we'll start off with the Eagles and Redskins. We're at home, and unfortunately, I think the Redskins have shown that they play their division rivals better away than they do at home. But let's assume that the Eagles were a 9-7 team last year, so let's assume that the Redskins come out fired up under their new coach, and they get out to a lead early on. Because the Eagles have done that where they have a tendency to start slow, and then of course in the second half, when teams start to falter, then they find their legs. But let's just say that the Redskins are all fired up because they have a whole new mentality. They had a chance to practice and play preseason games, so they come in fired up and their defense is fired up, and the offense does just enough to win.
Okay, so you're assuming a full training camp starting in July.
Yeah, I mean, if it's possible. I don't know if you heard this, but they're also talking about maybe taking the first month of the season and moving it to the end. Did you hear this?
No, I did not.
That basically the first 4 weeks of the season, basically take that schedule and just put it on the back half of the schedule and delay the Super Bowl. I read that, I think, yesterday. Who knows if they're going to do it right now? It's just a possibility. But
you know who's not going to like that? I mean, maybe it'll end just before, but I'm thinking March Madness is going to have a big problem if the first weekend of March. Because when does March Madness start? They might start mid-March, so they might be okay.
Yeah, they're like the second week in March, I want to say, or the.
So it might not be a conflict, but a lot of the division. I mean, the conferences in college basketball are probably going to be having their tournaments right there, and now they have to compete with the Super Bowl. That's they're not going to like that too much.
The divisions are usually the first week of March, and then there's a bit of a delay, and then they start the Thursday after that is March Madness. So you're right, they're not going to like that, and I don't know that it's going to happen, but it's just something I read. And there's all kinds of speculators out there, so who knows?
Right. Okay. But, so you're saying we take a win against the Eagles week 1. So I have that as a loss. But you said
okay. I know you did. I knew that was going to happen. But the basis of what I'm saying is just to tell you now that they're going to split against the Eagles and the Cowboys, and they're going to win both games against the Giants. That's what I believe.
Okay.
The Giants were not good last year. I know they got a quarterback that's now going to be a second year. But anyway, just to tell you now that's the basis for some of my wins. Is I think they're going to win more games in the division than they lose.
All right, so they beat the Eagles week 1. What do you got in the Cardinals week 2? I like the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are a good young team on the come up. Kyler Murray, I like a lot.
I'm trying to see what they're.
They got my boy Isaiah Simmons. Oh, I wanted Isaiah Simmons so bad, and they're the ones.
Okay, but this is another team. This is another team that gets talked about a lot, and they never seem to bring anything of it. And the fact of the matter is, last year they were 5-10. Now you could argue, and I couldn't argue against them, that they've gotten a lot better than they were last year. But they're truth, as far as what I know right now, is they were a 5-10 team last year.
Yeah, but they also got Kyler Murray, a weapon, in DeAndre Hopkins. He had a
and we got a weapon for Dwayne Haskins and Gandy Golden, and we got McLaurin on the other side.
We are not going to compare Gandy Golden to DeAndre Hopkins yet. Maybe on a very unlikely chance he could compete with him. DeAndre Hopkins is a top 2 receiver in this league.
Okay, I'm just saying. Again, the bottom line is, so they picked up a receiver. They were 5-10. We picked up a world-class defender to go along with 2 other world-class frontline guys, and I think that we've done a lot to bolster our defense, and we've added some talent on the offense, and you still got AP, and you got some other decent talent, and then you've got Dwayne Haskins in his second year, hopefully continuing to progress the way he has.
All right, so Cardinals.
Yes, so I'm going to say, and again, knowing I have to get, you said 9, I'm thinking I have to get to 10 wins. So knowing I have to get to 10 wins, if I'm going to have any chance of being right, this is one of the games they've got to win.
Okay, so they beat the Cardinals in week 2. So we start off the season 2-0. I have a loss here for the Cardinals. I say we start 0-2. But okay, so you're saying that in order for this to happen, we're going to get 2 wins off the bat. And week 3 against the Browns, what you got?
Well, and I guess I'm hoping that the Browns are the Browns because that's what they do.
Yeah.
But sorry, what were they? I'm looking at the records. Okay, so the Browns were a whopping. They were 6-10.
6-10. Okay.
So what have the Browns done to improve their team this year?
The Browns.
I'm just asking.
Done? Yeah, they. I don't know how much they've
I think they picked up
year.
some.
How much did they add this year? I'm not sure. I haven't followed the Browns too deeply to see who they've picked up and who they haven't. It might be a very similar team to last year. I know they got Myles Garrett back off suspension, where Myles Garrett was on suspension the last half of the season, and he's their best defensive lineman. So,
and I know they're another one that's over the last few years. They're great on paper, but
Baker Mayfield had a down year. He did not have a good second season, I think it was, for him. He had a lot of interceptions. He threw a lot of picks. So I was having big predictions for Baker Mayfield last season, and it did not pan out for good old Baker, especially but apparently their head coach was just garbage as far as being able to design an offense. Like, he just did not use his weapons well, because he has David Njoku, obviously Odell Beckham Jr., and Jarvis Landry, sorry, really good weapons down there. And he also has Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield. So I don't know why he could not use that offense to success, but apparently he did not do a good job of getting these guys the ball and getting them in good situations to get open. But I actually have this as a win for us. I think we go 1-2 and we beat the Browns in week 3.
And I got to be honest with you, I didn't think, I'm arguing each game because, I'm an eternal optimist anyway, but I am willing to accept 2-1 after the first 3 games as so if for example, if I'm wrong, if the Eagles come out and play like gangbusters and they kick butt, they might start off 0-1 and then win the next 2. I don't necessarily think that they're going to go 3-0, but I hate. So
out of the first 3 games, you have them going 2-1, and as of right now, you have a loss to the Browns, but you're saying it could be maybe a loss to the Eagles and you beat the Cardinals and Browns. Okay, so 2-1 out of the first 3 weeks. All right.
Yep.
Week 4, how optimistic are you? You got the Ravens.
So I'm 1/5 of the way to 10. So no, I know the Ravens. I don't hold out much hope, but again, if and it's a big if, but if our defense is what it's supposed to be, now they're starting to get their legs. I see this. I'm counting this as a loss, but I would not be surprised to see that if, in fact, the Redskins get momentum and there's, like I said, the front line, the front 5 or whatever is wreaking havoc on
Lamar
defensive back or offensive backfields, then then confidence breeds success. So again, if they're 0-3, by the time to get to Baltimore, they're going to be 0-4 because they're going to start to get this. Now you're getting into the what are we playing for this year? The stat 0-2. People that started 0-2 make the playoffs a ridiculously low amount, and if you're 0-3, it's almost 0. So if they go 0-3, then I'm going to say the Ravens game is probably a blowout loss, like a big loss.
So you're so optimistic that you can't even give it a loss, even if we're 3-0 or 2-1.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I got to see what happens. What I envision this defense as being, I think, is going to be the key.
Mm-hmm.
And if this defense starts out, if Chase Young happens to be a Khalil Mack or someone that is a line wrecker, and you got two other guys in there that are really, really good, I think offenses are going to have a hard time dealing with them. And yeah, they might get creative and figure out how to get away with. But again, I will say that it all depends on how they start out. If this defense comes out and plays a gangbusters game against the Eagles, then I think they start gaining confidence. And Ron Rivera is not going to let them get overconfident and get complacent. So yeah. I know this is all conjecture, but I just, like I said, I will have.
So right now you have a loss for the Ravens.
Yeah, right now I think we're 2-2.
All right, sounds good. Now we're moving on. I also have that as a loss, so I say we start 1-3. Rams, week 5.
I think this is an upset.
You think this is an upset?
That if they're 2-2 and they're starting to do it, and I won't say it again, but you know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That I think this is the Rams are thinking, oh, the lowly Redskins. They come into FedEx Field. Redskins got a new attitude. There's 75% Rams fans in the stands, and we shocked them, much like we did Dallas Cowboys in Dallas a number of years ago. When
fair enough. Okay, I have this as a loss. So right now I have 1-4, but you're saying we start the season 3-2. Okay.
Yes.
Now we have the Giants at the Giants, right?
Yeah, and the Redskins always play better up there, and I'm not convinced the Giants are that good, so I'd say we're 4-2 right now.
All right. I have that as a win as well. So I have us here at 2-4.
We've matched twice now. That's impressive.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So that's almost doomed to be wrong. All right. Cowboys first game. What you got?
My inclination is to lean towards the Cowboys, but I also think that it depends on what's his name? The Green Bay.
Mike McCarthy.
Completely Mike McCarthy. How they mesh together and how their talent meshes together, and if they're on a roll by now, they're going to come in and kick the Redskins' butt just because they're never down for the Redskins. That's a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're 4-3.
All right, 4-3. We got that one as a loss. Okay, and then you said you were sweeping the Giants, so I have you here at 5-3 after the next season. After the next game, I have this Giants game as a loss. I have us splitting with the Giants.
Okay.
So
I can't. This is all speculation, so I can't argue.
No, these are hard facts. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I know. Whatever your prediction is going to be exactly what it is.
100%. I'm never wrong. All right. So now we have the Lions.
With Matt Stafford back, I know what was their record last year?
3-12-1.
Yeah. So I know you said that you think that Matt Stafford being back is going to make a huge difference, and that may very well. It's in Detroit. What's my record right now?
5-3.
5-3. All right, I'll mark that as a loss.
I have that as a win. I think we upset the
Lions. I have the next week as a win. I think we kick the Bengals.
I do too. All right, so you have them as 6-4. I have us actually winning 2 in a row. I have us winning against the Lions and winning against the Bengals.
See, so you're more optimistic than I am.
Yeah, what am I at right now? 4-6. I'm 4-6 right now.
I'm 6-4.
You're 6-4. So this has to be a Cowboys win since you predicted a loss earlier. So because you said
yes, I think this is going to be
another
one of. I think this is going to be another one of those. The Redskins have no chance, much like that announcer said. What chance, or what do the Redskins have to do, or what are the chances the Redskins win this game? And the guy went, "There's no chance," and laughed, and then they ended up winning. So I think this is going to be a Thanksgiving game where the Redskins are going. The Cowboys now might be doing kind of well; they're getting a little complacent, and the Redskins come in and shock them.
All right, sounds good. Steelers, where do you have us against the Steelers? So you need 3 more wins out of the Steelers, the Niners, the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Eagles. And just to let you know, you said we're going to split with the Eagles, and we already have a win.
That's one of them.
So we're gonna.
I know. Yeah.
No, you already said we lost. We beat the Eagles week 1, so this means that this Eagles has to be a loss. Or are you switching it up?
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
So this has to be a loss. So now we have to go. So here, this is a loss. So now we have to go 3-1 against the Steelers, the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Panthers. Do you
Well,
want
we're going to beat the Panthers.
All right, so there's a win with the Panthers. Okay. I have that win as well.
All right. And I know the game we played last year against the 49ers was a mud fest, so it's hard to measure. And I know the 49ers are good, don't get me wrong.
We were at that game. It rained all game long.
I know. What was the score? 9-6?
9
I
to
thought
nothing.
it was like 9-3.
No, we didn't score.
We didn't
at
even
all.
get a field. I thought we got a field goal.
Our offense was non-existent that game because it was so wet. It was ridiculous.
All right, so I got to pick 3 out of 4. So I got the Panthers as 1.
Yeah.
I think so. I have to go the Redskins and I have to go the Steelers because I don't think they're going to beat the 49ers. And
So
I
the
said we were
Seahawks.
going to split the Eagles. Yes.
So we beat the Seahawks. We beat the Steelers, which actually I have as an upset win too. I think we're gonna get the upset win there, putting us at 5-7 at this point. I have us we're losing to the Niners, you as well, so 8-5. I have us losing to the Seahawks. You don't. You have us at 9-5. You have us beating the Panthers, which puts us at 10-5, and then the last week of the season we lose to the Eagles, and we sit there at 10-6.
Yeah.
All right, I have us sitting at 6-10. So I'm the exact opposite as you.
All right. Well,
even though we actually predicted a lot of the same wins.
Yeah.
Browns.
So and again, I know
Giants.
this whole thing's an unknown. So
yeah. All right, cool. That was fun. All right, so we're on the record. You're at 10-6. That's how we make it to the playoffs. I'm at 6-10, and we missed the playoffs. Which actually, for the predictions, a 6-10 season for us would actually be a good season. And did you know this is the first time since 1997 we have 0 primetime games?
Yes, I did hear that.
We didn't
have many last year.
We don't have a Thursday. We don't have a Sunday or a Monday night, which I thought they gave every team a Thursday, but I guess this year they nixed that.
Yeah, I thought because that's supposed to be a disadvantage.
You know what? That's not true. We have the Thanksgiving game, so I guess that counts as our Thursday game. But we play at 4:25, I think, so it's not a night game.
Right.
So I guess we do.
Well,
have
last
Thursday.
year I know last year the home games that I went to, I want to say 6 of them were at 1 o'clock. There was a lot of 1 o'clock games last year when they were at home. I don't recall, but maybe
we had the one home game against the Bears Monday night, and then
there was one.
Every other game was at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, which was fantastic for us that go to the games.
Because I ended up giving you my ticket because I had a big, huge meeting the next morning at work, and I was like, okay, I can't be out until 12:30 at night.
Thanks for sending me to. Yeah, thanks for sending me to that butt kicking. That was not a fun day. Case Keenum didn't know what was going.
I know. I'm glad I was not hungover on Tuesday after watching that game. Let me just say that.
All right, we'll go ahead. So that was fun. So we got you have 10-6. We have 6-10. All right, now we'll go ahead and switch gears a bit, and we're gonna switch to a whole different team. We're gonna see what's going on in Dallas. What did you think about the move of Andy Dalton to Dallas? Do you think it means anything for Dak Prescott? Do you think it means not much? He's just gonna be the backup. What are you thinking there?
Well, my initial inclination of it is you're dealing with Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones doesn't like people that don't want to play on his team and don't or even question the possibility that they want to play. And I think that Dak kind of putting his foot down rubbed Jerry the wrong way, and he just wanted to hedge his bet. That it's basically he's saying, Dak, if you come to your senses, we'll pay you a reasonable amount of money. We're not paying you $40 million a year. And if you have a problem with that, go find it somewhere else, and we'll.
Stephen A. Smith actually had an interesting comment on what was one in a row for him to me. No, I was kidding. But he had
I didn't know that.
Yeah, interesting comment of we don't know what the Cowboys offered him as far as guaranteed money. And when it comes to these contracts, most players do not care nearly as much as the year-to-year compensation. They care much, much, much more about what is guaranteed to me when I sign this contract. So we have no clue what is offered. So they might he may be willing to take $32 million a year, but if 110 of it is guaranteed or 120 of it is guaranteed. There's also rumors that he wants only a 4-year deal, and the Cowboys are offering a 5-year deal. So that's another thing.
To be able to up it again.
Which makes complete sense.
Your point of who you compared him to whether or not he's the man or not, that's also the possibility of whether or not Dak Prescott is the guy that's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I had compared him to the Kirk Cousins situation, is what you're referring to, right? That.
Yeah, I didn't want to steal your thunder. That's why.
No, you're fine. But yeah, no, I compared it to the Kirk Cousins situation because they are both not worth the money. They aren't.
Right.
But the only difference is, the main similarity is they really are only like Dak has more wins, but as far as statistically speaking, last year was his only real like breakout season of having real statistics that are saying like, wow, you played extremely well this year. And before that, he hadn't even had a 4,000-yard season. He did have some yards on the ground, which, like, if you're looking at statistically speaking, then obviously yards on the ground are worth more than throwing the ball. I don't say that. I know at least fantasy-wise that is, but some people if your quarterback can get 400 or 500 yards a season, that adds up to 700 to 1,000 yards throwing the ball because it helps out your offense tremendously when your quarterback can move. But
I just have to say this, and maybe you're right, maybe it's Jason Garrett, but if you have Ezekiel Elliott and the offensive line that they have, and you can't make it to the playoffs, I mean, not even considering all the other talent they have, but to have a Pro Bowl, I mean, what? If not all of them, like 3 or 4 of their offensive line makes the Pro Bowl. I mean, they're huge. They're supposedly
they're so good.
Yeah.
They're really top 5 offensive line, if not the best.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does it that you don't make it to the playoffs? And maybe you're right. Maybe it's not Dak Prescott. Maybe it's Jason Garrett. But I just think, hey, if you're the guy, then I mean, and I know this is not a comparison, but if you're Tom Brady and you have that opportunity, that team's going places.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. So and I agree with you. I wouldn't say he's the same as Kirk Cousins, but I like the I like the comparison in the situation to where maybe Dallas is just saying we don't think he's the guy.
I think they want to pay him. I think they do want to pay him, but they just don't want to pay him the amount he wants. And this has given them leverage where if he decides that he is not going to sign that franchise tag or come to the table, that we have a competent quarterback, because Andy Dalton has 4 seasons of 10 wins or more.
Right.
They
brought in a solid.
He's not a fantastic quarterback. He's not. You're going to be your Pat Mahomes, your Aaron Rodgers. Not even sniffing. He's not even good enough to sniff their jockstrap. Okay, but he is a good, solid quarterback that can lead an offense and lead a team that is really good around him, and that's what Dallas has. They already had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, and they just added arguably the best receiver in this draft with CeeDee Lamb, and then they have Ezekiel Elliott and a top 5 offensive line. Andy Dalton can lead that offense just fine. He'll be just fine in that offense.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And one other thing I just wanted to say about the comparison to Kirk Cousins, there is one difference in that the Redskins made him an offer, and people can argue about the quality of that offer, and I can't argue with that opinion, but Kirk Cousins never offered a counter. And that tells me that they could have offered him the moon, and he likely was going to leave because for whatever reason, whether it was Bruce Allen or, what the situation was, he felt slighted, whether it was by RG3. At some point, he felt like he was slighted by the Redskins, and that happened long before there was ever a discussion about a contract. And I think at that point he had thought, you know what, this is a ship that's burning and going down, and I don't want any part of it. And
it may have been just that. I think what he really wanted was a fully guaranteed contract, which is why he took a 3-year, $84 million fully guaranteed to Minnesota. I think that's something that he's been fighting for. That he thought that I want a fully guaranteed, so I'm going to sign this franchise tag. You know why? Because I'm going to get all that money when I sign that deal. I'm going to sign this second franchise tag. You know why? Because I'm going to get all that money as soon as I sign that deal. if I sign a 5-year, $100 million with 45 or 40 guaranteed, whatever it was at the time, $60 million I could never see.
Right. I get that, but make no mistake about it. He's not signing that with the Miami Dolphins. He's not signing that with the bottom feeders. He's signing that with a team that he thought, they had been into the NFC Championship. NFC?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
NFC Championship game the year before. And so he thought, I have no doubt he wants to get paid, and you could be right, it was a guaranteed money, but I think it also had just as much to do with the fact that he thought the Redskins were never going to be there. And the one thing that he didn't get was when he made that decision, now if they didn't go places, there was no excuses around him. They were blaming it on him. Because when the Redskins, they would blame it on all the offensive line, receivers, defense, blah, blah. There were so many other excuses. And when he went to Minnesota, it was like, what's the problem? You can't say it's the line. You can't say it's the talent.
Oh, they did. The Kirk defenders still said it was the offensive line, which is why he had a bad season. But yes, the Kirk defenders will always Kirk defend. That's what they're going to do.
Oh, and there's the Kirk haters and the Kirk defenders.
Yeah.
I happen to be a Kirk hater. Not personally, I think he's the nicest guy in the world. I just didn't think he was the guy, and I didn't want to pay him $28 million a year to play.
Fair enough.
So
Fair
anyway.
Enough. All right, that was fun. All right, we'll move on to the next thing here. We got Dwayne Haskins, in my words. He wrote an article with the help of a guy named Zach Zelby, I think it was, from the one of the Redskins staff writers. It's on redskins.com. Did you get a chance to read that?
I did.
Yeah, what'd you think about it?
Well, and I heard kind of what you thought about it. I'll say, I think similar to you, that I thought there was a certain amount of humility and respect for, and I'll call them his elders, but the veterans that were around, that I didn't feel like he said anything that made you look at it and go, really? He said that? The one thing I will say, though, that I found interesting, or curious, I should say, is the fact that he went out of his way to make it sound like, or to give a whole lot of detail about what he was thinking on the field. And, he tried to throw in the slot receiver and doing this, and he all the technical jargon I think he wanted to kind of show people that were maybe questioning his work ethic of, hey, I'm studying, I'm working, I'm learning a lot of this, and I want to show you in this article that I'm starting to know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, if you read it, certain statements that he made, it's kind of like, okay, that was a little, like I said, it was just, I think he, like so many other players or people in the sports, they listened to the media and they heard his work ethic was questioned, and he wanted to show that I know NFL jargon, and I'm trying to think of the one thing that he said that it was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to remember it.
I'm not sure either. I had a bunch
but when I read it, it was like, okay, I mean, just the way he talked about, I'm sorry, it's totally escaping me, but I just thought, okay, that was when I realized, okay, he's trying to say that through his progressions and learning, which was the theme of this, that I knew I had a lot to learn, and I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to give a little sample out there of, okay, see what I know now? I've come a long way, kind of a thing. So what do you think? I know I read your or watched your video of.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was well done. He didn't take any jabs at anybody. I guess unless you want to say the end was kind of a jab of like that we're doing it the right way and we're building something, blah blah blah. Maybe like saying that Jay Gruden was not doing it like that last year. I don't know, but
yeah,
overall, like he did not take any overt jabs at anybody. I thought it was well done. As you said, a lot of humility. In that Giants game, he talks about like, I watched the film of that game and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just making stupid, ridiculous decisions. And but he goes through the whole thing, the whole season, and everything. So I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the read. I thought it was cool that he talks about how he was in awe of Adrian Peterson, and his first play of the year was being able to hand it off to Adrian Peterson for an 8-yard run. I
Oh,
thought
I
that was
definitely
cool.
like that too. Those
Yeah,
and to talk about the quarterbacks, a lot of respect, and there
yeah,
were no. And again, I wanted the overall thing. I didn't want to make it sound like I saw anything wrong with it. It was just if I was going to give one critique or one
mhm,
thing I took away from it that wasn't, and I'm not even saying it was negative, but just that you could tell a little bit of what his point was. But I'm glad his point was to show people that if I'm right, but I'm glad his point was to show people I'm working hard and I'm learning, and I
yeah,
know I got a lot to learn, and that is not in and of itself a bad thing. So I didn't want to make it come across as I thought that it wasn't egotistical. It was um, self-deprecating,
hmm
where So I didn't have a problem with the article. I just thought there was a couple times he went over the top a little bit with trying to, it's almost like a quarterback saying, the X-wing fly double, where they're trying to, and they want to go through all that stuff, and it's like, because I want you to know that I know.
I'm in the playbook. I'm in the playbook. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, and then I ended up going through all those games. I'm sure you watched that as well.
Yeah.
And I really, because you know that I was not a Dwayne Haskins fan when we picked him up. But
Yeah.
it was nice to see that he had improvement. I'm glad he played a lot last year. 9 games is a good sample to see improvement at least. And he started his career with 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions before he threw his first
Right.
touchdown. And then he finished the season with 7 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. And one of those interceptions came in the 8 seconds left in the second quarter, where he's throwing it downfield, just trying to make something happen,
Right.
where it didn't end up hurting us at all.
So, and before we wrap up, I just want to ask you a question, and this is a serious. It's I know my sisters give me a hard time because when I say a serious question, it's like, why wouldn't you ask a serious question? But
Uh-huh.
I want to say a sincere question, not a got you or anything. But when you look at, you said Dwayne Haskins was not the guy, and you don't need to go in a whole lot of detail, but what is it when you look at a quarterback what is it that you see that you get to that you make that determination that
Well,
early on?
I was looking at his season in Ohio State, and he had a track team of receivers, and
Yeah.
90 something percent of his throws, like you watch a lot of his great plays, like you watch his highlights, there's not a lot of throws that are splitting windows or
Right. So you got a guy 10
making a
yards
lot.
open, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
these are easy throws in college that almost everybody should have been able to make at the college level, but definitely the NFL level. So I knew that he had a big arm, but I'm looking at it and it's like Jamarcus Russell had a huge arm. Like there's a lot
right,
of people that have come through that had a huge arm, and I thought he was overrated coming out of college. A lot of people had him as the number 1 quarterback off the board, and I just watched, and it's you never can say that he has no chance at becoming a great quarterback. Obviously you have examples: Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, even Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. These are late round picks, so you can never say that they have no chance. But looking at it, I did not think he showed me enough to take him as a first round 15th overall pick. If we get
okay,
Dwayne Haskins in the third or fourth round, I'm not crucifying the team. We didn't spend a huge capital on him, and he has good upside. But spending a 15th overall pick on him, and you're like, this now has to work out, or else this is a huge mistake. And I also really, really liked what I saw out of Drew Lock, the throws that he was able to make, what he was working with in comparison. He actually lost his number 1 receiver in college. Drew Lock did. Early on, like week 4 or 5 of the season, and he still put up decent numbers throughout his senior season, basically willing his team to wins because he did not have nearly as much talent. So we'll see
right.
how he does over in Denver. But I really liked Drew Lock, and I really wanted them to take him instead. And also, I trust Chris Cooley with my life, at least my football life. That
Yeah, let's not go too far there.
Yeah, and if he likes somebody, I find it very hard to argue. He's not perfect. I despise that he liked Will Blackman. I despise that he really loved Morgan Moses. I think these two players were. I don't even know if Will Blackman you could consider overrated, because I don't know if anybody else besides Chris Cooley liked Will Blackman. But Morgan Moses is terribly overrated. So I'm not saying Chris Cooley 100% of the time he's right, but he's right often enough that if he likes a player, I like a player, and he predicted Drew Lock was actually going to go top 5 to the Raiders that year, that he thought he was that good of a player that he should go top 5. He ended up going in the second round, which
Right.
I saw that it's like we could have got Montez Sweat in the first round, Drew Lock in the second round, and then still have a second round pick this past draft instead of Dwayne Haskins. I would take that every day of the week. But it was nice to see, as I said, Dwayne Haskins improve throughout the season, and he finished strong. And he also had 3 rookie receivers that were on the field a majority of the time. He had a duct tape offensive line put together with a bunch of elderly or outcast players for the most part.
Right.
And I thought he played decent down the stretch against some decent defenses. So I'm excited. I'm curious to see how it turns out. I don't know how I feel about Scott Turner yet, but he has somebody to work with in Dwayne. What's up, guys? We had a little technical difficulties for the last small segment. It was only a couple minutes at the end that I messed up and had the sound wrong. But I just wanted to make because we also lost the end of our podcast. I just wanted to make a little end saying thank you for watching to the end. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please subscribe and like the video. That helps a lot. And we're just getting started. It's only episode 2. That's why we're having these technical difficulties. But we're trying to build an audience and have some fun. So if you enjoyed this, hopefully share with some of your friends, maybe some football fans or Redskins fans. We're going to be talking about more general stuff than just Redskins, but it's definitely going to be heavy Redskins. So if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. We're going to be posting this every Tuesday night afterwards, and we pre-record it for now. But like and subscribe, and hope you enjoyed everything.